This happened in late 2022. I was driving for Uber to make some extra money over the holidays. I live in a mid-sized city in the Midwest, big enough to get decent ride requests, but small enough that you start to recognize familiar faces after a while. I usually drove evenings after my day job. Not bad during the week, mostly work commuters or people heading home. But Friday nights, they could get weird. This one Friday was cold, overcast, that kind of damp chill that clings to your bones. I had just dropped someone off downtown and was idling near a bar strip when a new ride came in. The name said Erica. Pickup was a few blocks away, near a park in a residential area. But the pin was weird. It wasn't a house. It was right next to a bench under a street lamp. I pulled up, scanning the sidewalk. At first, I didn't see anyone. Then I spotted a figure sitting on the bench, hood up, looking at her phone. I rolled down my window. "You, Erica?" She looked up slowly and just nodded. No smile, no words. She got in the back seat without saying anything. Didn't seem drunk, just blank. The drop-off was on the north side of town, about a 30-minute drive, wooded area. Barely any cell service out there. We started driving. I tried to be polite. "Hey, how's your night going?" "Nothing." She just kept staring down. About 10 minutes in, I checked my mirror and noticed something that made me uneasy. She was staring. Not at her phone, not out the window, directly at me. I tried to brush it off. "Everything all right back there?" No answer. She didn't even blink. I turned the radio down. The silence was thick, almost heavy. A few minutes later, she leaned forward slightly and whispered, "You don't remember me, do you?" My stomach dropped. "Sorry," I said. She leaned back, didn't say another word. I kept driving, but now my hands were sweating on the wheel. I racked my brain, trying to place her face. "Nothing. Have we met before?" I asked. Still nothing. The woods grew thicker as we got closer to the drop-off. Fewer houses, less light, more shadows. The GPS took us into a cul-de-sac with only 2 homes. One was completely boarded up, windows covered, lawn overgrown. The other was just dark. She pointed at the boarded up house. "That one." I looked in the mirror. "You sure? It looks abandoned." She nodded. "It's where you dropped me off before." I shook my head. "I've never been here." "Yes, you have." Something about her tone chilled me. I put the car in park, right? "Have a good night." She didn't move, just stared at the house. Then dashed quietly. She asked, "Will you wait?" I paused. "Wait for what?" She said. "Just wait, please." I don't know why I agreed, but I did. She stepped out and walked slowly up to the porch. She stood there for a long time, didn't knock, didn't move. Then the front door opened, all on its own. No lights inside, it's just blackness. She stepped in. I waited. 1 minute, 2, 5. Then I came to my senses. I hit end trip and drove off. I stopped at a gas station a few blocks away, used the bathroom, grabbed a drink, and came back out. I opened my door and froze. She was back, sitting in the back seat. Same hoodie, same blank stare. I nearly dropped my drink. "What the hell? How did you get in?" She just said, "You said you'd wait." My heart was hammering. I locked the doors. I muttered. She looked at me through the mirror. "You really don't remember?" "No," I said. "I've never seen you before tonight." She pulled something from her coat pocket, a folded photo. She passed it up front. It was a printed screenshot from a past Uber trip. 5 stars. My name, her name, and the comment read, "He was the last person who saw my sister." My blood ran cold. I looked at her. "You're Erica, right?" "See?" Shook her head. "My name is Beth. Erica was my twin." I couldn't breathe. What happened to her? Beth looked down. She got in a car like this and never came home. I stared at her through the mirror. "You said you'd never seen me, but maybe it was her you saw." I asked, "Why that house? Why go back?" Beth said. It was the last place her phone pinged. "I need you to get out now," I told her. She nodded, opened the door, stepped out. Then she looked back. "Thank you for waiting this time." And then she vanished behind a gas station. I never saw her again, but I think about that night often. I still don't know if she was real or if I was being shown something I missed. Okay, year too late. I was driving for Uber last summer. I had just moved to a small town in Oregon after dropping out of college. I wasn't really sure what I was doing with my life, but rideshare driving paid the bills, and honestly, it was kind of peaceful, less traffic. Then the city, nice people for the most part. Nothing really stood out until that night it was. Around 11:30 p.m., when I got a ping, the pickup was in a quiet residential area just off an old country road. No streetlights, no other cars, just long driveways. And acres of tall trees. Rider's name was Cam, no profile photo. No rating, which wasn't super uncommon, but it still kind of stuck out when I pulled up to the address. It was a one-story house set way back from the road, no porch lights. But the house itself didn't look run down or anything, just still, like time had stopped. There is sent to here, notification, and wait after. A minute, a man stepped out from behind the side of the house, not from the front door, just side, as if he'd been waiting there the whole time. Was tall, wearing a hoodie, despite the summer heat, and carrying a single duffel baggie. Unlocked the doors, and he got in quietly, just said thanks, and nothing else. I asked if the destination in the app was correct. He nodded, still not looking at me, then added in a low voice, "Take the long way, if that's okay." Normally, that's a weird request, but some passengers want to avoid traffic or just relax, so I said sure and started. Driving about 10 minutes in, we were on an isolated road, surrounded by forest, no lights, just headlights and shadows. I tried making small talk, but he wasn't interested. He just stared out the window, barely blinking. She noticed he kept gripping the duffel bag tightly, like he didn't want to let it out of his sight. At one point, I saw his hand shaking. Okay, when I glanced into my rearview mirror and saw something that made my stomach. Flipped bag was moving, not a lot, but enough, like something inside had shifted or twitched. Didn't say anything. I just kept driving, telling myself maybe it was a pet or just stuff shifting around, but I couldn't stop checking the mirror. Then, out of nowhere, he spoke. "Do you ever wonder what happens when someone disappears?" His voice was calm, almost too calm. I just gave a nervous laugh and said, I guess." He turned his head slowly toward me, his face now visible in the glow of the dash lights. He smiled, but there was nothing warm about it. People don't just vanish, so one always knows where they went. I didn't respond. I just kept driving faster. No, we're supposed to be heading to a motel on the edge of town, but we were still deep in the woods. My phone buzzed. It was a notification from Uber. "Your passenger has changed the drop-off location." I glanced at it. It was a random pin, not an address, just a spot in the middle of nowhere. "Hey, did you just change the drop-off?" I asked. He leaned forward slightly, his voice right behind my shoulder. "Now, yeah, this place is better." I said I couldn't take him there without a verified address, but he didn't say anything, just sat back and muttered, "You're already going the right way." I looked down at my phone and realized he had somehow locked the new destination. The app wouldn't let me reroute, was already off any main road, and now my service was starting to drop. Nick started creeping in. I faked a calm tone and said, "I need to stop for gas. Low on fuel." He didn't respond. He pulled into a small gas station. We were approaching one of those old ones with flickering lights and no staff after dark. Okay, parked by the pump and got out, trying not to look. Okay, like I was freaking out. He went inside. There was no attendant, just dim lights and a vending machine. I pretended to look for something to buy, but really, I was trying to text someone. Ennio Nino, signal when I looked out the window. He was still in the car, still holding that bag bit. Now his head was turned, staring at me. Completely still he was. About to walk back when I noticed something on the floor of the passenger seat. Sticking out from under the duffel basket was a piece of cloth, dark soaked, and stained thoughts when the bathroom door inside the station creaked open behind me, and another man walked out, eyes bloodshot, face pale. He looked at me, then looked out the window at my car, whispered he brought the bag in here earlier, and told me not to open it. Said it was his sister. My body froze. I ran to the car, but not to drive. Off he grabbed a phone from the holder and pretended to drop my keys under the seat. When I knelt down, I pressed the panic button on the Uber app. It immediately notified 911 with my location man in the back. Must have sensed something was wrong. He suddenly said, "You shouldn't have done that." I turned, and he was now holding something metal sharp. I couldn't tell what it was, but I didn't wait to find Adi through the car into reverse, screamed out the window for help, and just floored it backward, screamed, then threw the door open, and jumped out, running into the woods with the bag still in hand. Man from the bathroom came running out and called 911 on his own phone to within minutes. Police showed up. They searched the woods for hours, but never found the guy, only the bag inside. It wasn't a body, but a bunch of women's clothing, some with the names written on the tags, all cut up, some of it. Stanley said he was likely trying to lure me to a secondary location and might have done this before it done. This day his profile is still out there because it wasn't even real. He used a stolen account, fake name, burner phone thief. Never caught Hyman. I never drove Uber again after that, not even once. I was 30 when this happened. I drive for Uber full-time in Arizona. Mostly night shifts. It's quieter, less traffic, and surprisingly better tips from people trying to get home from bars or airports late at night. This ride happened around 1:15 a.m. on a Thursday. I had just dropped someone off at a hotel near downtown Phoenix. I was about to end my shift when I got one last ping. A guy named Caleb. Kickup was listed as a small gas station on the outskirts of the city. Not ideal, but the destination was close to where I lived, so I figured, why not? He accepted the ride and started. Heading over. The gas station was dimly lit, old, not exactly the safest looking place, but nothing felt off. Yeti pulled into the lot and parked next to the curb. Man stepped out from around the back of the store. He wasn't coming from the door, not from a car, just from the shadows, like he'd been waiting. There was tall, wearing a hoodie with the hood up and carrying a large duffel bag that looked heavy. Opened the back door without saying a word, got in and only said thanks for coming. He smelled like dirt and something sharp like bleach or alcohol. It instantly made me uneasy, but I nodded and started the ride. I asked you, Caleb. He said, "Yup." No eye contact, just that. He glanced at the app. Pickup matched destination was about 20 minutes out of town, a residential address in a quiet suburbs. We drove. He stayed completely silent, just sat there holding the duffel bag tightly, like he was afraid someone might take it from him. Tried to make light conversation. "Late night, huh?" He didn't respond, just gave this half smile and looked out the window. A few minutes later, I checked the app again and noticed something weird. Trip had stopped tracking. There was no moving progress, no fare updating, just a frozen route screening. Glanced back through the mirror. His hoodie had slipped just slightly, and I could see the side of his face, and my stomach dropped. It didn't look anything like the profile photo. The man in the picture was clean cut, probably mid-20s. This guy looked mid-40s, unshaven, with deep bags under his eyes. It wasn't the same person, not even Clasmy brain. I started racing, but I stayed calm, kept driving. I decided to text support through the app with a quiet voice to text, but as I reached to tap the screen, I noticed something else. Sid there was a red smudge on the side of his back. Not a lot, but definitely freshy. Slowed the car slightly and casually said, "Hey man, do you mind verifying your destination again?" Yaps, acting up. He leaned forward and said, "Just keep going. I'll tell you where to turn." I was done. I wasn't going any farther without knowing who was in my car. Turned off the music and said, "Look, I need you to confirm your account or I'll have to end the ride. It's policy." He didn't answer, but I could see his breathing change slightly heavier. His grip on the bag tightened. He said, "You're not going to want to stop here." His tone shifted calm, almost like a threat wrapped in advice. Pretended to get a call, put my phone on speaker, and said, "Hey babe, yeah, I'm just dropping off that last rider near 48th Street. I'll be home in 10. I wasn't on the phone with anyone, but I wanted him to know that someone was expecting me. He shifted in the back seat, then muttered, "People lie." I didn't respond, just kept my eyes forward and looked for the nearest place I could pull over. There was a 24-hour diner coming up, brightly lit. I figured I'd stop there and tell him I needed to use the restroom. By some time I pulled in, and before I could say anything, he said, "Why are we stopping?" His voice sharper now. The duffel bag was now sitting partly open, and I swear I saw something metallic inside. I said, "Just need to run in real quick, be right back." He didn't stop me, but he didn't take his eyes off me. E3 walked into the diner and immediately went to the counter. The woman behind it must have seen the look on my face because she asked if everything was alrighty. Told her there's a guy in my car. I don't think he's who he says he is. I think something's really wrong. She called the manager, who called 911, and they told me to stay. Inside, I peeked through the window, and the guy was still in my car, but now he was looking around nervous. He got out, grabbed his bag, and walked away down the side of the road into the dark P. The time police arrived, he was gone, but here's where it gets worse. He ran the name and photo attached to the Uber account and told me that the real Caleb had reported his phone stolen earlier that night. He had never ordered a ride and had already deactivated the account hours ago. Somehow, this guy still accessed it, maybe from a screenshot or from a Morty. Pulled security footage from the gas station and saw the man loitering there for nearly 30 minutes, never going. Sighed, just waiting, watching. T said he likely targeted someone late at night, hoping for a lone traverse for what was in the bag. No one knows. He left it with him, but they checked the area and found no trace. Asked me to come in and give a full statement, said it matched the pattern from earlier cases in the region. People posing as riders, disappearing into the dark. Sometimes they're just thieves, sometimes in the seas. Don't know who he was or what he planned to do, but I can tell you this: he never drive past midnight anymore, and if anything ever feels off, I trust that gut feeling, because that night it might have saved my life.